Section 2, the providence of resurrection. 2.1 How does God carry out his work of resurrection? Resurrection means the process through which a fallen person is restored to the original state as intended by God. The providence of resurrection thus means the providence of restoration. Since the providence of restoration is God's work of recreation, resurrection is a work of recreation. Thus, the providence of resurrection is carried out, in accordance with the principle of creation, in the following manner. First, in the history of the providence of resurrection, many of those who were entrusted with a mission exerted themselves with utmost sincerity and faith to realize the will of heaven. Even though they may not have fully carried out their responsibilities, based on their devotion, they broadened the foundation upon which subsequent generations can form a relationship of heart with God. We call this foundation the merit of the age. In the providence of restoration, the merit of the age has increased in proportion to the foundation of heart laid by the prophets, sages and righteous people who came before us. Therefore, resurrection is carried out based on the merit of the age. Second, according to the principle of creation, it was God's responsibility to create human beings and give them his word, while it was the human portion of responsibility to reach perfection by believing in and living according to it. Similarly, in conducting the providence of resurrection, God's responsibility is to give us his word and guidance, and our responsibility is to believe and practice it in order to fulfill the providence. Third, according to the principle of creation, a person's spirit can grow to perfection only through the physical self. Likewise, in the providence of resurrection, the resurrection of a spirit can be achieved only through earthly life. Fourth, according to the principle of creation, a person is meant to reach perfection through the three ordered stages of the growing period. Therefore, the providence of resurrection for fallen people is also to be completed through three ordered stages, manifested as 3 ages in the providence of restoration. 2.2 The providence of resurrection for people on earth. 2.2.1 The providence to lay the foundation for resurrection. God began his providence to resurrect fallen humankind in Adam's family. However, the providence was prolonged because those who were entrusted with accomplishing God's will did not fulfill their responsibilities. 2,000 biblical years later, God chose Abraham to be the father of faith, and through him, God's will began to be accomplished. Consequently, the 2,000 years from Adam to Abraham resulted in the establishment of the foundation, upon which God could begin his providence of resurrection in the following age. For this reason, we may call this period the age of the providence to lay the foundation for resurrection. 2.2.2 The providence of formation stage resurrection. During the 2,000 years from Abraham to Jesus, God worked to raise people to the formation stage of resurrection. Hence, this era may be called the age of the providence of formation stage resurrection. All people who lived on earth during this age could receive the merit of the age based on God's work of formation stage resurrection. In this era, God gave the law of the Old Testament. By believing in and practicing it, the people could fulfill their responsibility and be justified before God. Therefore, this era has been called the age of justification by works. The people of this era who practiced the law in their daily life were resurrected in spirit to the formation stage and became form spirits. Upon their death, those who achieved the level of form spirits while on earth entered and abided in the form spirit level of the spirit world. 2.2.3 The providence of growth stage resurrection. Due to the crucifixion of Jesus, resurrection was left incomplete, and its completion has been delayed until the time of his return. The 2,000 years since then have been a time of prolongation, during which God has worked the providence to resurrect people to the growth stage through spiritual salvation. Hence, this era may be called the age of the providence of growth stage resurrection. All who have lived in this age can receive the merit of the age based on God's work of growth stage resurrection. In this era, people are to believe in the New Testament word, which God gave them that they might fulfill their responsibility for the providence and be justified before God. Therefore, this era has been called the age of justification by faith. Those who have lived in this era could be resurrected in spirit by believing in the gospel during their earthly life. By being resurrected to the growth stage, they could become life spirits. Upon their death, those who became life spirits while on earth enter and abide in paradise. The life spirit level of the spirit world. 2.2.4 The providence of completion stage resurrection. The era when people are to be resurrected both spiritually and physically. Through the returning Christ and complete. The providence of resurrection is called the age of the providence of completion stage resurrection. All those who live during this era are to receive the merit of the age. Based on God's work of completion stage resurrection, Christ at the second advent brings the new truth, with which to fulfill the promises of the Old and New Testaments. It may be called the completed testament. Believing in this truth, people are to serve and attend the Lord on the earth, that they may fulfill their responsibility for the providence, and be justified before God. Therefore, this era is called the age of justification by attendance. By believing in and serving the Lord and devoting themselves to His work, people of this era are to be fully resurrected both spiritually and physically, become divine spirits, and live in the kingdom of heaven on earth. When they shed their physical bodies, as spirits, they will enter and abide in the kingdom of heaven in heaven, which is the divine spirit level of the spirit world. 2.2.5 The kingdom of heaven and paradise. Some Christians have been unclear in their concepts of the kingdom of heaven and paradise, because they lack a full understanding of the principle. Had Jesus completed his mission as the Messiah on earth, the kingdom of heaven on earth would have been established in his day. The kingdom of heaven in heaven would also have been realized at that time. Once people of perfect character living in the kingdom of heaven on earth had passed into the spirit world as divine spirits. However, because Jesus died on the cross, the kingdom of heaven on earth was not realized. The earth never saw the appearance of people who had reached the level of a divine spirit. No one has ever become a citizen of the kingdom of heaven in the spirit world, which was created as the home of divine spirits. Therefore, the kingdom of heaven in heaven remains empty and incomplete. Why then did Jesus indicate that whoever believed in him would enter the kingdom of heaven? The original purpose for which he came on earth was to establish the kingdom of heaven. However, due to the people's disbelief in him, Jesus died on the cross before he could establish the kingdom. Jesus promised the thief who was crucified at his right side that he would enter paradise together with him. The thief was the only person who believed in Jesus at the end, when everyone else had abandoned him. While Jesus had the hope of accomplishing his mission as the Messiah, he preached that people could enter the kingdom of heaven. But when he was at the point of dying on the cross without fulfilling this purpose, he told the thief that he would enter only paradise. Paradise refers to the realm in the spirit world, for those spirits who have attained the level of life spirits. By believing in Jesus during their earthly life, there they remain in waiting until the day when the gate to the kingdom of heaven is opened. 2.2.6 Spiritual phenomena in the last days. Adam and Eve fell at the top of the growth stage. Human beings are now being restored to the top of the growth stage through the providence of restoration, having passed through the Old Testament age and the New Testament age. The last days is the time when people return to the spiritual level reached by the first human ancestors just prior to the fall. Today, being the last days, is the time when people throughout the world are reaching this level. Just as Adam and Eve prior to the fall were able to converse directly with God, today, many people on earth can communicate with the spirit world. The prophecy that in the last days, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams, may be explained based on this insight from the principle. In the last days, many people will receive the revelation, you are the Lord. Often these people will be misled into believing that they are the second coming of Christ. Why do they stray from the right path? Upon creating human beings, God gave them the mandate to rule over the universe. Yet due to the fall, they have been unable to fulfill this blessing. When fallen people are spiritually restored through the providence of restoration to the top of the growth stage, they will reach the level of heart comparable to that of Adam and Eve just before their fall. God gives certain people who are at this stage the revelation that they are the Lord, in recognition that they have reached the level of maturity. at which he had once blessed human beings with dominion over the universe. Believers in the last days, whose devout faith entitles them to receive the revelation that they are the Lord, stand in a position similar to that of John the Baptist. John the Baptist came with the mission to make straight the way of Jesus. In the same way, these people of faith are given the mission to prepare, in their particular areas of responsibility, the way for Christ at the second advent. Since they are to act as the Lord's representatives in their respective fields, God gives them the revelation that they are the Lord. When someone who is gifted with spiritual communication receives the revelation that he is the Lord, he should understand this phenomenon through the teachings of the principle. He should not act wrongly, mistaking himself for Christ at the second advent. Otherwise, he may end up playing the role of an antichrist. For this reason, the Bible contains prophecies that in the last days there will appear many antichrists. Spiritual mediums are often confused and fall into conflict among themselves, because the levels of the spirit world with which they are in communication and the content of the revelations they receive differ. Although spiritually perceptive people are in contact with the same spirit world, because their circumstances and positions vary and their character, intellect and spirituality are at different levels, they will perceive the spirit world in different ways. These differences give rise to conflicts among them. People who contribute to the providence of restoration usually are responsible for only a part of the providence. Focusing only on their vertical relationship with God, they are often not sensitive to their proper horizontal relationship with other spiritually attuned people. Strife can break out among them, as each thinks that the will of God which he serves is different from that which the others are serving. Their conflicts are aggravated when each of them receives the revelation that he is the best. Yet God offers such encouragement to spur each on to do his very best in carrying out his particular mission within the greater providence. God also gives such revelations because each is, in truth, the one best suited for his respective area of mission. In addition, when people of devout faith become spiritually open and reach the level of heart comparable to Adam and Eve just prior to their fall, they will face a test similar to that which Adam and Eve failed to overcome. If they are not careful, they may commit the mistake of the fall. It is extremely difficult to overcome this temptation without understanding the principle. Regrettably, many religious people have failed to overcome this test, nullifying in an instant accomplishments gained through years of devotion and exertion. How can spiritually gifted people cope with these troubles, to accomplish the providence of restoration in a short period of time? God apportions different missions to numerous individuals and relates to each of them independently. It is thus virtually inevitable that conflicts break out among spiritually sensitive people. However, at the end of history, God will provide them with the new truth. The new truth will help them understand that the unique missions with which each has been entrusted are all for the sake of the same ultimate purpose of God. It will guide them to cooperate with each other and work in harmony to accomplish the greater purpose of the providence of restoration. In this era, all spiritually gifted people should cease their stubborn insistence that they alone have been serving the will of God. They should search out the higher and more comprehensive words of truth, which can help them correctly understand their positions and the true nature of their providential missions. Only then will they be able to overcome the confusion stemming from past horizontal conflicts. Only then can each arrive at the fulfillment of his individual path of faith and bring forth its beautiful fruits.